Hey folks, I think it's really time I made a follow-up video on my Lexicon Alpha review. I bought the unit about 4 months ago and I have been using it extensively as my main audio interface, so I think by now I can give a good opinion based on hands-on experience. Now there are several key points that need to be discussed. First of all, is the hardware any good? Second, does the software work properly? And third, based on my experience with this unit, do I recommend it? Now, first the hardware. I do have two very big issues with the unit. First of all, the preamplifiers in there are pretty shit. There's a microphone input, but I really don't know how you want to get a proper signal with the absolutely crappy preamplifier that Lexicon put in this thing. It simply does not have enough gain to be usable with microphones. Electric guitar and bass works fine, but for devices with a low output signal, like microphones, you are going to need a separate preamplifier. I'm using a Behringer Mic 100 tube preamp, and that does work very well. The second issue I have with the hardware is that this thing has no phantom power. I will admit here that I barely use microphones that require it. I just only have one condenser microphone, but it's still something I'd like to have available, especially considering that other budget interfaces do support such a feature. Besides those two issues with the hardware, I do think the unit sounds fine and that it has enough inputs and outputs available for basic recording situations. I only ever used it to record myself, so 2 inputs are enough for me. As for the casing, it's very sturdy, the knobs still feel good, and well, I haven't had any issues with loose connections or anything, so it seems to be really well built. Now let's talk about the software side, and this is where another very big issue rears its ugly head. The driver is pretty shit. It quickly starts to lag and stutter way faster than I've had with any other audio interface I've had in my possession. Especially when running a couple of VST plugins, such as virtual amplifiers, the driver starts to crap out way too quickly, forcing me to only have 2 or maybe 3 tracks active when recording. Now, I know for a fact my PC can easily handle much more than that. When recording with other audio interfaces, I simply don't have this issue. At least not until I reach around, well, say 20 tracks. Another very big issue the driver has is that it usually craps out when running multiple audio programs. Say, for example, I have Reaper open, but also a Windows Media Player or VLC or something. One of the programs usually stops working. Again, this only happens with this particular driver. Other than those two rather big issues, the unit does always work instantly whenever I plug it in, and I haven't had things like crashes or freeze-ups. The installation was also very smooth and easy. Not really any complaints there. I will mention though that the latest drivers only go up to Windows 7. I'm not sure if it will work on Windows 8 or 10. So, what do I think about this unit? Well, you might have guessed I'm not too positive about it. It sounds good and has enough features for people who just want to record their guitar playing or other basic stuff, but I'm frankly not going to recommend it based on the issues with the driver. Especially if you are a little more serious about recording your music and want to use a DAW, running plugins and whatnot. It simply kind of fails to perform well. Not to mention, it simply does not work with most microphones without buying extra gear. And frankly, it's simply better to spend that money on a better audio interface altogether. Yes, the Lexicon Alpha is much cheaper than most audio interfaces, coming at only $50. But you know what they say, you get what you pay for. I hope this review was informative and has helped you make a decision on your gear. If you have any suggestions or ideas for future reviews or have a question, Comment below and stay metal. Ah.